Hello. If I could have your attention for just a minute. If I could get your attention for... Hello? If I could have your attention for 1 minute, please. We're going to start the program very shortly. Just an announcement about the auction items on the table. It's a different kind of auction than you've probably done before. The Chamber partners with an organization that provides the auction items. So the way the auction items work is they have multiple items of the same thing. So everybody can have one if they wish. But the sooner you bid, the cheaper the cost. Meaning, first person up places a bid. There's a bid increment. So the second person up can get the same item, but it will cost them, in some cases, $5 more is the minimal increment for most of the items on the auction. So I want to welcome everyone. I'm Jeff Campbell. I'm the president of the Chamber this year. And we really appreciate you coming out and supporting the Chamber. No community is a vital community without the Chamber. And this banquet, I'd like to introduce the Honorable Mayor, Eddie Cassidy, the new mayor of this, well, he's not new anymore, but of the city of South Fulton. I will say this, working on the South Fulton Park project and working with Mayor Eddie Cassidy, he is such a breath of fresh air for South Fulton. I'm thrilled to have him in place. The cooperation between the two communities has never been higher, and just a fine fella. And I appreciate him being here tonight to support the Chamber and to start off our program. So with that, Mayor Cassidy.
Thank you very much. If you would please stand for our Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Shall we pray? Our Father in heaven, we are so thankful for our country, for the freedoms that we enjoy, the blessings that are ours. And we thank you for our communities, for the Twin Cities. And we ask that you continue to bless us. Bless those who work through our chamber. We pray that you would be with them. May right and good decisions be made. And we just ask your blessings upon us this evening as we've come together as a community of friends. And we give you our thanks for this food. In Jesus' name, and amen.
Down here, so bear with me if I'm screaming at you, but a couple of housekeeping announcements. If anyone is blinded and can't read the program, we have a pair of reading glasses that were left up front. So if you're missing a pair of glasses, raise your hand. Check your purse, check your pockets. Uh-oh. All right. They'll be right here on the table whenever you want them. Or I'll put them on the front table. How about that? All right. About the auction items again, still a little bit of confusion. This one's a little different, so let me describe how the auction items go. Every item up on the table, if you like it, has a minimum bid. Let's say $30. If you're the first one to write your name down, you get that item for $30. It also has a minimum bid increment. So it goes up $5, so the next person who comes up, if they want the same item, they have to pay $35 for it instead of $30. So it's to your advantage if you see something you like to bid early. So we're going to have the program with our speaker, then we'll take a break, a brief break, give you time to go to the auction tables, and then we'll finish the night with the awards. Okay? So for our program tonight, I'm really excited because Robert Kirkland, I'm sure a lot of you know the name, Robert gambled $100 million on Northwest Tennessee. And time will tell if he's brilliant or if it's another folk's folly. I personally think he's brilliant. He's invested $100 million in Northwest Tennessee, and here tonight with us to tell us all about Discovery Park of America is Polly Brasher. Polly was born in Memphis, but she was raised in Obion County. Polly graduated from Obion County Central High School after an active 4 years of college prep classes and club activities. She began teaching after graduating from Arkansas State University and then taught various levels of art, English, journalism, and drama, and taught for 25 years. As a teacher, she traveled with her students to broaden their horizons in order to give them a chance to see art, to see architecture and museums in larger cities where the facilities were available. One of her most memorable moments was arriving in Chicago during a snowstorm and allowing the students to lower the windows of the bus, to press their faces out, to marvel at skyscrapers which they had never seen. Some of these children had never left Obion County in their lives. In 2004, Polly joined the Obion County Museum Board and dreamed of serving local students and area students with other high-caliber exhibits like she had transported them to big cities to see. One night at one of their board meetings, she met Mr. Robert Kirkland, and that dream, first time, seemed to be a possibility. 2 years would pass before the public would have any knowledge of a plan to give a major gift to the region that would be changing the landscape of a local bean field into a fantastic destination for families far and near. Ladies and gentlemen, the Director of Education, please welcome Polly Brasher.
Good evening and thank you. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to share what we're doing in Obion County. But I must say that investment in West Tennessee was not just an investment in West Tennessee, it's also in West Kentucky. You are our next door neighbor, and my boss, Jim Rippey, said just the other day that we're driving this train, DPA is driving this train, and if you want to come along for the ride, just get on board. So we are bringing tourism and revenue to the area, and we hope that you will join us and benefit from it as much as we do. Is that good, Thea? Can you hear me now? Okay. All right. I get excited and I talk with my hands, so I'll try not to do that tonight. Discovery Park of America bought 50 acres between Everett Boulevard and I-69. As you see, I-69 is still not yet complete. It's at the back of the screen there. This is the park from the air. Mike Rinker flies his helicopter over and gives us great aerial shots for our PowerPoint and our Facebook page. We have exhibit space inside Discovery Center and outside on the park. We also have event venues inside Discovery Center and out on the park. And I'll walk you through some of this. I did meet Mr. Kirkland in 2004, joined the vision team. There were 4 of us that met for a year, sworn to secrecy. We were trying to decide if something like Discovery Park could happen. Of course, we didn't have a name for it at that point. Could it happen? Could it happen in Northwest Tennessee? Could it happen in a rural area like ours? Obviously, we decided yes, it can, and we went forward. Mr. Kirkland is on the left. He was part of Kirkland Stores that sold household goods, household furnishings, and refers to himself as a retired junk dealer. His cousin was on the retail side, he was on the import side, so he traveled the world. And I like to tell people he could have put Discovery Park of America absolutely anywhere in the world, but he chose right here in our backyard. On the right is Mr. Rippey, our CEO. Back in those vision team meetings, we decided that education would be our #1 priority. That makes us a non-standard museum because we're actually about education before preservation. We want our education to be entertaining, and we think that that will enrich the lives of our visitors and our community. And again, when I say community, I'm not talking about Union City or just Obion County, but the whole area. Marty Marbury, our West Tennessee Tourism Director, said that Tourists don't care about county lines and state lines. They just want to know what to do in the area. So we'll be working together to the success of all. This is our mission statement. We do want to enhance the educational experiences of people and to inspire them to see beyond their current level of knowledge. The Kirkland Foundation has already committed $78 million to the project. We have spent well over $60 million of that on construction and artifacts already. But he also put 2 trusts in place. We have a 20-year trust for operations of $2 million a year. We have another 20-year trust of $1 million a year for new artifacts and exhibitry so that we do not become stale for those of you who live here locally and can visit often. We also now have sponsors and partners coming on board to make our vision even grander and even bigger. This is the team of professionals for Discovery Center, the flagship building, the strange white building in the middle of the park. Bernard Johnson is the architect firm out of Boston. Think is the design firm out of New York, and Maltby is the fabrication firm out of New Jersey. Allen Searcy Builder Contractors is the construction firm for the entire park. At the end of those vision team meetings, we decided, yes, we're going forward, this can happen, we're going to put it right here, and we went public. Announced that anybody who wanted to have input into this project could by coming to a meeting. 250 people showed up, and we had a list of about 15 committees. So we have been volunteer and committee driven from the beginning. I know committee's a bad word some places, but it's worked wonderfully well for us. The ideas you're about to see on the screen came from committee members. I honestly think all but 2 ideas came from committee members. Younger and Associates out of Jackson did a study for us and estimated that we would have at least 150,000 visitors a year. About half of that would be school field trips. We are on the web and on Facebook. You can keep up with us and our progress. This is the north side of the park. You see the Japanese garden here, the European garden. We've added a maze. This is the Great Lawn, the barn, Mill Ridge, the North Lake, and the settlement. On the south side, you can barely see Discovery Center. Those are the parking lots, the chapel lawn, the American Garden, the covered bridge, the South Lake, the depot, the trains that came in Thursday, a day early, we were thrilled, will be on the tracks here, the pavilion, and then this is Freedom Square. Freedom Square from the arrival circle, and then we'll start with Liberty Hall, sponsored by Magnolia Place. In Liberty Hall, we have a tribute to David Crockett, we have a tribute to John Tanner, we have an orientation room, we also have a 1776 room that tells the story of the formation of the United States through paintings and documents. The bell at the top of this building is from the first public school in Union City. The seal on the outside is the seal of the United States. And in the rotunda of this building, we have a full-scale model of the Liberty Bell, a beautiful piece that we commissioned from a company in Holland. The City of Union City gave us this 1926 fire truck. It was already restored. It's a great gift. We wanted to show it, but we had already run out of space in our transportation gallery. So Rob Kingry is designing what I call our outdoor exhibits. He went to work and designed a firehouse. It's been built. It's based on the Harper's Ferry firehouse where the raid of John Brown was. So we will show the fire truck here. We also have a trampoline and some other firefighting equipment. And the original columns from the original firehouse. Next to that will be the drugstore. As we began to walk the park to check on construction progress, we decided maybe one place to get a drink and a bite to eat wasn't enough. So we have put some vending stations in place. This is one of them. There will be vending machines in the back, tables and chairs, some air conditioning, and a little bit of exhibitry out front. This is the Barbershop. There were 3 of these octagonal buildings in Tennessee, and this was the last one standing. It was a barbershop in Reeves, Tennessee, run by Mr. Dickey and his son. We've been able to interview people who remember getting their haircuts here, and they've helped us authentically recreate the shop and the contraption that Mr. Dickey built because he wanted hot water before indoor plumbing. So the contraption in the middle of the room is his hot water access, and they also say that he was extremely stingy with the hot water. You did not get an extra drop. We wanted a covered bridge. We looked for one. There are still plenty of covered bridges out there, but nobody wanted to give up theirs, so we built one and left it a little more open than some of them in this area were, but it makes a nice breeze, a wonderful shady spot where you can stop and view the south side of the park. The chapel was a gift from the Elbridge Cemetery Association. Again, we looked high and low for a chapel. We actually looked for 2 years and found one in Scotland that we were considering purchasing, dismantling, and bringing over here. And somebody bought it out from under us. Well, we thought maybe we had drug our feet too long, but then the Cemetery Association called and said, we've changed our minds and we would like to give you the chapel. They didn't just give us the chapel, they gave us everything inside. And when I walked in, it looked like they were ready for service. So we have the pews, the pew Bibles, the hymnals, the fans, the flowers, pictures on the wall, the altarpieces, the piano, absolutely everything. It will be a fantastic exhibit. It is also an event venue, so we can have vow renewals and small weddings here. In front of the chapel, get this, there it goes. Cersei and his men went down and took the windows out of the chapel, folded the walls in on the floor, brought it across the county, and this is Cersei's men raising those walls again. In front of the chapel, we have the chapel lawn, which will have a fountain, and the chapel lawn is surrounded by the American Garden, which will be a beautiful space with a pergola for a little bit of shade. The Union City Rotary Club sponsored the pavilion. It's based on the roundhouse at Reelfoot Lake. Just a nice place to stop. There's shade. There will be picnic tables. There's vending machines, restrooms, a great view across South Lake back across to Freedom Square. And this is the depot right next to the pavilion. The trains, as they will be in just a couple of days, because they'll be moving those onto the tracks next week. We bought a steam engine, a coal car, a Pullman car, a dining car, and a passenger car. They were located in Maine. So we went through some logistical nightmares and then finally found a company that could move them for us. By the time you put this train on another train to move it, well, not all the tunnels in the United States are tall enough, so we actually had to take the train through Canada and then back down closer to the Mississippi River. It is in Union City. It will be transported to the park next week. Inside the depot is a mini railroad museum. We have partnered with the Twin Cities Railroad Museum in Fulton, and they've been very generous, have already given us half of their collection and promised us the other half someday. Casey Jones is my example of how we work with other entities. We're building a railroad museum in Union City, Tennessee, only 10 miles from Casey, Kentucky. We cannot pretend that Casey Jones doesn't exist, but we made a promise back in those vision team meetings that we were not here to put anybody out of business. We're here to bring business to this area. So what do we do with Casey Jones? Here's the answer. We will introduce our visitors to Casey Jones with a small display and then tell them, if you enjoyed this display, you would also enjoy the Casey Jones Museum in Jackson, only an hour away. So this is just an example. We're willing to work with other entities the very same way. Here's the Japanese garden, near completion but not quite finished. Will be a beautiful space with a koi pond in the middle. And the European garden still has quite a bit of work to be done, but again, a beautiful outdoor space. Not a lot of shade, but the benches will have shade. And then we've added a maze. This is something we wanted early on, but the landscape architect did not include it. So now that we have our grounds director on board, John Watkins, he said no problem, and he's designed a maze. We will have it out from the European garden, and it will be an interesting place as well. We have 750 trees, 4,000 azaleas, 1,000 rose bushes, 24,000 other plants, and thankfully, John Watkins on board as the grounds director to maintain all of that. So he is now building a crew to keep this place looking absolutely gorgeous. This is the Great Lawn, a 2-acre event place. It has an amphitheater at one end. Large events would happen at the event at closer to the bottom of the screen, but think large and outside. Festivals, concerts, barbecue cook-offs, car shows, absolutely anything you can dream of that could be there. We'll have events there, and it's also a rentable space. I personally would love to see hot air balloon rides out there someday. Mill Ridge displays that time period right around the turn of the century, late 1800s to early 1900s. The mill itself was purchased from Sevierville, Tennessee, and is over 150 years old. So as two of our volunteers were working to repair some of the wooden cogs in the mill, they decided that the building should also be authentic. They recreated authentically a timber frame building for us. Did this in a warehouse across town, which means they had to build a wall and take it apart, build another wall, take it apart and store it, build another wall, take it apart and store it, and continue that until they had all the pieces, bring the pieces to the park and construct the building. It is a fascinating piece to see. The building is beautiful. The mill will be a demonstration area, and we will be pumping water over the wheel into the North Lake. It'll flow over the weirs, through the canal into the South Lake, and then we're irrigating with that water by pumping it back out of the South Lake. There's the mill, almost 100% complete. It is now finished, it's painted, and actually looks like it's been there for many, many years. The Smithery is where we will have blacksmithing, leatherwork, and woodwork demonstrations. The horse-drawn hearse you see on the screen is a piece that has belonged to the Obion County Museum for many, many years. I remember seeing it on display when I was a little girl, but it's been in storage for over 20 years. And this is just one of the examples of the reason we need a place like this, to bring those things out of storage, to be able to show them to the public. The feed store is again a vending station, vending machines, some tables and chairs, some air conditioning, and some exhibitry. The one-room schoolhouse was moved from the Clayton community, just beyond the Clayton community. This is the old Maupin School. Betty Cleek was the last teacher here. She taught grades 1 through 6, and there were over 100 of these one-room schoolhouses in Obion County. You probably had just as many here, because no child was allowed to walk more than 6 miles to school. Think about that for a moment. No child was allowed to walk more than 6 miles to school. There's Rob's rendering for the inside. We'll have the desk, the dunce cap, the teacher's desk, the pot-bellied stove, of course, and then a bucket for water. This is the barn where we will show our agricultural equipment. We have 22 tractors. We have a kerosene-driven and a steam-driven tractor. We represent many, many brands, Gibson, Farmall, John Deere, Ford, Alice Chalmers, Silver King, and some others. We have an antique combine, an antique road grader that will be shown here, some small implements and some horse-drawn implements. There's the Gibsons and a Farmall. And then the settlement from the arrival circle. The arrival circle is a very neat space in the park because you can see almost the entire park from there. The settlement is where we have all of our log structures, and every one of these was a donation. The log structures were given to us, and we have either recreated the structure that was given to us or taken the logs and used them to repair some of the buildings. This is the hog barn. The smokehouse, there's a chicken coop on the end of the Sims barn, the Hicks cabin from Fulton, the Parks cabin from the Clayton community, the Critchlow cabin from Union City, and then 3 Wade cabins from Kenton. Then we have a woodshed. I know that has bad connotations, but have to have one. The well, and then the corn crib and another barn. Casey Putz is our live exhibits coordinator, and she says it'll take about 2 years, but we're going to work on getting a zoo license so that we can have live animals out in the settlement. This is inside the Parks cabin where we're showing life as it would have been for a family in the mid-1800s. We'll have a garden outside. We're calling it a heritage garden. Every family had to have their own garden, and they needed the outbuildings that I just mentioned. The weaving loom you see here has now been moved to its own cabin. Since we had the 3 cabins from Kenton as a gift, we have the ability to make a weaving display all its own. Baptist Memorial Hospital sponsored the doctor's cabin, and his cabin would have been his office and his home. We're working with a local reenactor to authentically display what a doctor of that time period would have had. This is the Hicks cabin from Fulton, and we're going to use it to tell the story of the Sleeping Beauty of Obion County. Susan Godsey was 8 years old when she fell ill. She was 10 years old when she fell into a coma. She slept for 24 years. And it's not a happy ending. She's buried in the Antioch Cemetery, but it's a very interesting story, a part of our history. So we're going to tell her story in this cabin. This is the David Crockett cabin. You may remember that I mentioned him in Liberty Hall. We will talk about him there as a politician. Here we'll talk about him more as a frontiersman. We will also have a statue of him outside in the gathering space. If you know much about him, you know about the stump speeches that he made, and we'll have him up on a pedestal to do that. We have an internship program. We've been working with UT Martin for 2.5 years. They have been absolutely wonderful to us. Their professors have helped us develop our exhibits, to develop our galleries, to check our facts, to make sure that we're presenting things correctly and spelling all those big long words correctly. And they've also been sending us interns. We have interns from the departments that you see there, and now Murray State has come on board about 4 weeks ago. We're very excited about that. They will be sending us interns as well. And there's a little bit of the settlement, the North Pond, and Discovery Center. In case you have not driven by to see the construction, I have a little timeline to show the construction of Discovery Center and how it's changed colors over time. And then the Tower Observation Room. This room has 2 glass panels in the floor, and the floor is 120 feet above the ground, so you can stand on the glass and look straight down. It has a balcony that wraps almost all the way around, so you can go outside for a clearer view. And in case all of that wasn't exciting enough, the tip of the balcony is now glass too, so you can stand on the tip and look straight down, 120 feet. This is an observation room during the day as an exhibit, and then at night it's a rentable space for meetings or parties. Again, this is from the arrival circle, and this is the entrance to the building. You enter on the middle level, which we're calling the entry level. This is the gift shop on the right, the entrance, the cafe on the left. There's also a patio outside for outdoor eating, and behind the patio is a classroom. Behind that are the restrooms, and you can enter all of those without a ticket. You can enter the gift shop, the cafe, the classroom, and the restrooms without buying a ticket. But I have to say, we've priced our membership, our 1-year membership, at only $50 for an adult. So if you do that, you can just come and go as you please. This is our door greeter. He's the first thing you see. Cave bear. They've been extinct for many years. We had one created for us, and he greets you just inside the glass doors. Our temporary exhibit space meets Smithsonian standards so that we can bring in traveling exhibits from just about anywhere. The size will be our only limitation. It is 4,000 square feet of space. Our regional history gallery focuses on Reelfoot Lake. We have Reelfoot Lake species in the aquariums and terrariums and the touch tank. These are the aquariums. The aquarium on the left is a 22,000 gallon tank. These are focus tanks. We wanted to show some predators like snapping turtles, and we didn't want them eating up the rest of the exhibit. So we put in focus tanks for them. But note the little boy crawling into the wall. He is crawling into the pop-up bubble in the big tank. And this is a pretty cool thing. We did this for kids, but I have to tell you, I've seen 3 adults crawl in there already. And there aren't even any fish in the aquarium yet, just water. There's the terrariums and the touch tank. A docent can bring out live creatures that can be held. And the monitor behind that docent is for educational films, informational clips, or a video microscope so that everybody can see the slide at the same time. We also have an exhibit on making a living at Reelfoot Lake, so we talk about hunting, fishing, and logging. This is the earthquake simulator. The film here tells you how Reelfoot Lake was formed, the facts, and floor shakes. So when they talk about the tremors, The floor shakes a little bit. When they talk about the earthquake, the floor shakes pretty good. As you see, it is a standing experience. It's also wheelchair accessible. We think this is going to be one of the great features. This is very exciting. Our oral history theater is where we're showing videos where we have recorded people telling their story. We have 2 people in the audience tonight who will be on this opening day, Bill Homera and Marty Doss. And we have collected stories from people who can talk about life in this area when it was very different. We hope to continue this forever, so if you know people with interesting stories, please let us know who they are. Encourage them to add their stories to our database. The Smithsonian heard what we were doing and came knocking on the door, said, will you partner with us? And of course we said yes, and they are archiving all of our raw footage from our videos. This is the woolly mammoth skeleton. He was found in Russia. It took them about 2 years to get him out of the ground. He was found near the river there. And he welcomes visitors to the Native American Gallery. In that gallery, we have 10 to 12,000 pieces. We have arrowheads, spear points, pottery pieces, tools, an amazing collection, and most of that was gathered by one man, as a hobby, not as his job. This is the deer hunt diorama where we show how the Native Americans trapped their deer before they speared them. And next to that we have the hologram. This is where we don't stick to the truth, we tell myths and legends. On opening day, we'll be showing the legend of original fire. And then we talk about European contact with Native Americans. We have the trading post, we have early survey equipment, and modern Native American artwork. That brings us to the military gallery where we start with the Civil War and we talk about the land battles. We show the uniforms, the weapons, the flags, and then go to the river battles. We're right between the Tennessee River and the Mississippi River, and the Cumberland River's not that far away. A lot of devastation in this area. So we talk about the battles that happened here, and then we also talk about Reconstruction. We have a World War I display, a World War II, Vietnam, Korea, and then modern conflicts. We do have a weapons progression to show the different weapons we've used over time. We do have the PT-17 Stearman that you see here. Mike Reeker and his son flew that from Virginia for us. And then Mike flew it to the park the other day and landed it on the highway out in front of the park. And then we drained all the fluids and brought it inside, and it is now hung from the ceiling. Not upside down, but it is hung from the ceiling. We have the helicopter that you see, and it's the same type that was used to pull Alan Shepard from the ocean. We do have a Scorpion tank, a Jeep, a Humvee, a scout car, a ferret car, and an armored ferret car. Lots of artillery. And then we talk about a soldier's life, what he wore, what he carried, his tools, his weapons, the letters they wrote home, the diaries they kept, the souvenirs they sent or brought home, and try to give people a glimpse into that life. The Natural History Gallery, we start with the Dinosaur Hall. We have several dinosaur skeletons here, and they're absolutely fascinating. They are full-scale models. This is also an event space, so we could have a banquet for up to 400 people in amongst the dinos. And we call it Dino Hall, and so we've been joking for a couple of years now. Dinner with the dinos, dancing with the dinos.
All right, if you'll take your seats, we will finish up with the highlight of each chamber banquet, which of course are our annual awards. Up first is Business of the Year for 2012. To present that, please help me welcome the Honorable Mayor Elaine Forrester, Mayor, City of Fulton. Elaine.
Thank you, Jeff. I would like to read the nominees for the 2012 Business of the Year. They were Hawks Family Dentistry, P&R Tire, the Keg Bar and Grill, and Walmart. It is my honor to present the Twin City Chamber of the Year Business of the Year, Chamber of Commerce Business of the Year 2013 to Walmart. Walmart is very active in the community. They support a lot of different organizations, and they're very active with Let's Paint the Town. They help the Chamber of Commerce. the Twin City Men's Organization, and Relay for Life. Join me in presenting Walmart with the Business of the Year Award. Kathy.
Can you go back one more time? Please. You did, look too quickly.
All right. Up next, to present the Industry of the Year Award, presented by our Executive Director of the Fulton Hickman County Economic Development Partnership, Mr. Eddie Crittendon.
This is always a good award. We certainly appreciate all of our businesses who contribute to the local economies of Fulton and South Fulton, especially in the field that I'm in our industries. So many of these industries, it takes a lot of investment to keep a plant, keep a manufacturing facility running in this day and time, and we appreciate all that they do. Each of you here that represent an industry in Fulton, South Fulton, we appreciate you and all that you do for our community. This year's Industry of the Year, this company began operations in 1955. In early 2006, the owner of the company started looking for a new site to make their products, and they found their way to Fulton County. After they found a great site with rail access they needed, they broke ground on July 6 of 2006, that same year. They built their own offices, their own building, and their own yards. In April 2008, this company was purchased by an even bigger company and had hopes of growing this business and increasing jobs, and as of today, they have done that and they've doubled as to what they thought they would do. This company contributes on average a payroll of about $3.1 million to the local economy, and considering all these jobs are pretty much local and the dollar usually turns over 7 times before it leaves a community, that payroll has an even larger impact of about $22 million, which represents about $3,200 for every man, woman, and child in Fulton County. On top of that, this company spends on average about $1.8 million a year in services and goods with local merchants in the area. That's another $12 million in investment and impact on the local economy. With just the payroll and the goods purchases, they have a direct impact of almost $35 million to this region. This company also donates truckloads of their products just to keep many area folks warm in the wintertime. They purchase about $20 million worth of product at large scale in mom and pop operations across a 200-mile radius of Fulton County, with some as close as 10 miles away. This company employs over 75 hardworking employees from across the river counties in West Tennessee, and they've grown exponentially since 2007. As a side note, in economic development and in manufacturing and also in just regular business, you don't understand the trials and things that companies go through. We spent probably 3 years working side by side with this company on some issues with state government and things like that, just hoping not only could we help them, that we kept them. Because in this day and time, you never know when the company's going to pull the plug and say enough is enough. So we're proud that things worked out for them, and they were able to grow and keep going and doing the things that they need to do. Stella Jones Incorporated is a leading North American producer and marketer of industrial treated wood products, specializing in the production and pressure treated railway ties, as well as wood poles supplied to electrical, utilities, and telecommunication companies. Other principal products include marine and foundation pilings, construction timbers, highway guardrail posts, and treated wood for bridges. The company also provides treated consumer lumber products and customized services to lumber retailers and wholesalers for outdoor applications. A great partner in our river counties, a great partner in Fulton County, as well as here in West Tennessee too. Please help me welcome this year's 2013 Industry of the Year, Stella Jones.
I got gotta tell you, Eddie knew more about my company than I did. Congratulations. Thank you. I just want to say a couple quick words.
Come on, right up here.
I'm never too short for a couple
Go ahead.
words. No, I
No, yes.
Yes. All right, I'm sorry. Well, one of the things, like Eddie said, in 2006 we came here, and when he was talking about building the plant, it was with our employees that we started out with hiring through. So it was like camp for us. We built the log cabin office. The guys that ran our trimmer building built the trimmer building. Or not the trim building, but installed the equipment, that kind of stuff. So we got a real relationship with our employees right off the bat. And we started out with promising, I think, 37 jobs, and like Eddie said, we're up to 75. But the important thing is that, you know, we got great support from the community. You know, the judge execs have been outstanding to help us through some issues. We have one of the best safety records in our company and one of the highest production rates in our company. And some of our employees are transferring out to some of the other plants and doing a great job out there. So I just appreciate the work ethic of all the people around and the community itself. Thank you all.
All right, up next. Each year, Reelfoot Bank sponsors an Outstanding Service Award to an organization or an individual who is given above and beyond in terms of service. And so tonight, here with us representing Reelfoot Bank Fulton Market, please welcome Lea Ann Hobbs, Reelfoot Bank Vice President.
It's always a privilege for Reelfoot Bank to honor one of the Twin Cities clubs, groups, or civic organizations by presenting the Community Service Award. There were several very deserving nominations submitted this year, and without a doubt, all of the groups nominated are made up of dedicated individuals who willingly give their time, talent, and treasure. The main objective of the winner of this year's Community Service Award is to perpetuate the memory and spirit of men and women who achieved American independence. This group promotes the development of public opinion and fosters patriotic citizenship. Their three main areas of concentration are education, patriotism, and historic preservation. On the local level, in 2012, the Jacob Flournoy Chapter of the Daughters of American Revolution distributed over 100 desk-sized flags to area school children. During Constitution Week, members obtained Constitution proclamations from area officials and conducted classes at area schools on the Constitution. Brandon Carter, a senior at Fulton City High School, was nominated as the DAR Good Citizen nominee. He won the first place District 1 Good Citizen Award. The DAR publicity chairman, Laura James, who's very actively involved in this society, prepared the kids' pages for the Fulton Leader for many special holidays, including Armed Forces Day, Flag Day, Independence Day, the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War, and the 225th anniversary of the Bill of Rights. In addition to promoting literacy in young people locally, these news pages earn state and national recognition in public relations and media for the Jacob Flournoy Chapter of the DAR. In November, the DAR presented 45 small flags to the South Fulton Elementary Choir, who joined the DAR in honoring the veterans at Hall's Memorial Nursing Home here in town. Several lap robes were made by a member of the DAR and presented to the veterans living there, following the singing of several patriotic songs by the choir. This was all done in honor of Veterans Day. This society also gave toys for Christmas gifts to the Twin Cities to be given to the needy. A large yellow silk wreath and large yellow ribbons were hung at South Fulton City Hall in honor of the 913th in Union City. Also in 2012, over 600 pounds of homegrown vegetables were given to veterans, including many veterans right here in the Twin Cities. On Memorial Day, the DAR put floral pieces and small American flags on several local veterans' graves. This society has also adopted a military person serving overseas. Gifts were sent on special holidays such as Christmas and birthdays, along with cards and homemade cookies and candies. This will be done until that veteran returns home, and then at that time, another local military person will be adopted by the DAR. So as you can see, the list of activities organized by this group really does just go on and on. Please join me now in presenting the 2012 Community Service Award to the Jacob Flournoy Chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution. Are some of the members from the DAR here tonight that we could present the award to?
All right, the final award of the evening, always the highlight of the annual Chamber Banquet, is the John J. Sullivan Outstanding Citizen of the Year Award. That award, permanently named by the Chamber Banquet in 2010 for Mr. John Sullivan, that name, for those of you who knew John, resonates with community service. That gentleman gave countless hours to many, many organizations and causes throughout his lifetime until his death, unfortunately, a couple of years ago. This year's recipient, I thought about how to present this award, and I decided to just pull the nomination, submit it directly to the Chamber Board, and share that with you. But before I do that, let me just go through the list of nominees for this year. This was a tough year. The board voted very closely, but as always, there has to be one winner. But those nominated for Citizen of the Year were Carol Boyd of South Fulton Mayor Ed Cassidy, Garrett Hutchins of Fulton, Dr. Bill Smith of Fulton, and Reverend Jesse Webb, also of Fulton, although Jesse's hard to say Fulton or South Fulton because he's running around on both sides of the lawn. So having said that, I'm going to share this letter of nomination, and I'll try to be brief. Ladies and gentlemen of the board of the Twin Cities Chamber of Commerce, I would very much like to submit the name of Garrett Hutchins for Citizen of the Year. Garrett has been a tireless volunteer and worker for our community. In 2010, he was the president of the Fulton South Fulton Rotary Club, and in that capacity, Garrett spearheaded the fundraising effort to raise over $35,000 for the building of Civic Park in downtown Fulton. It was that same year that Garrett decided to take a very big gamble, he along with his wife Sarah, and built the first new building on Lake Street since the 1960s to house the young couple's new business, the Sarah Nicole Salon and Spa. And if that wasn't enough, in 2010, Garrett became a partner with Keg Enterprises LLC, who spearheaded the effort to buy, renovate, and reopen the historic Keg Bar and Grill. Garrett was also, in 2010, one of the first volunteers to sign up for and a strong supporter of the Let's Paint the Town program. So who else has built as many new buildings or started as many new chamber members as Garrett Hutchins? In 2011, he became a board member and the first vice president of the Twin Cities Chamber. Garrett served for many years on the board of the Fulton Tourism Commission and the Fulton County Transit Board, among others. On his years of service to tourism, Garrett was instrumental in convincing the Tourism Board to bring back the Banana Festival. He served as head of car shows and the local festivals by any name for many, many years, and also was instrumental in running the annual Rotary Fish Fry to raise funds for scholarship recipients. In 2012, Garrett became president of the Twin Cities Chamber Board. He continued his service on the Transit Board and ended his service on tourism after years of commitment. This year, in 2013, Garrett, and again his partner and wife Sarah, purchased an old building on Lake Street and currently working diligently to do a complete renovation to bring yet another business to downtown Fulton. Coming by August 1st, or hopefully by then, or around school, will be 2 doors down, a new women's clothing store that will be open in downtown Fulton. It really does not matter the cause. If Garrett Hutchins commits himself, he shows up and he works tirelessly. Garrett loves this community as much as a handful, but certainly more than most. His love of our town's history is unmatched by anyone of his age. He strives in everything he does to bring back the glory days of the Twin Cities. He's a dedicated and tireless worker, and Garrett, at his young age, has done more to benefit this community than most have done in an entire lifetime. Ladies and gentlemen, Citizen of the Year, Mr. Garrett Hutchins.
Well, I believe everything was pretty well said, but yes, I am Fulton, but I might work and sleep in Fulton where I preside, but I am a Twin City boy, and I'm proud of it, and I've got a life long to live here. I'm only 31, so I plan on living a long life here in the Twin Cities, and I expect a lot of great things out of you guys as we go forward, so thank you all.
All right, last housekeeping detail. For those of you who bid on auction items, if you were the first to bid, you may take your item home tonight. You may pay by cash, check, or credit card. For those of you who might be second or third or fourth or whatever on the list, if you'll see Thea, she'll make arrangements to place your order to have the item shipped in, and you can make payment to her as well. Before we adjourn tonight, first of all, you know, it's every year, literally on a penny's budget, somehow Thea Val throws off the most extraordinary party I've ever seen in my life and works for a week down here. So please help me thank our Executive Director of the Chamber, Thea Val. Nothing's done in a small town without a small army of volunteers. I just want to take a moment to shout out and say, for decorations here tonight that you see, all gardened from local yards, all freely done by free labor. Jennifer Caldwell, Nancy Fawcett, what would we do without you? Pat Frazier here, Amy McCord, Deanna Reams, who steamed and tied, Flowers, Nancy Fawcett, Pat Frazier, Cheryl Brundage. And finally, for the venue here tonight, how lucky we are for an extraordinary facility like Buck Celebration Center. Thank you, Ricky Smith. And for that, ladies and gentlemen, good night and God bless.